This is Out of the Box with your host, Jonathan Clark. Out of the Box, Sunday nights at 9 on Q1043.
Okay, Justin Hayward joins us in the studio. Of course, he is a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the Moody Blues, writer of many of the classics we know, love, and play on the radio to this day, like Nights in White Satin, Tuesday Afternoon, Question, I Know You're Out There Somewhere, and many more. He is out on tour in the States this summer. The Blue World Tour, featuring Mike Dawes, coming to the Mayo Performing Arts Center in Morristown, July 16th. And the latest release is Justin Hayward, Living for Love Live. All the info, justinhayward.com. Justin, this latest release, Living for Love Live, it's actually a new song, right?
Yes, a new song. Actually, it's not a live version. It's just Living for Love. Yeah, it's a record.
Living for Love, okay.
Yeah, Living for Love, yeah.
And we're going to play that new song shortly
Great.
here. But let me just say, it's you are so lucky, and I listened to this new song, that you are so lucky that you can still write these beautiful melodies. And it's definitely like a new song, but it's got your distinctive vocal sound. And dare I say, it's, when you hear your voice, you think Moody Blues. You know what I mean? I think it's got to be satisfying to you to be able to continue to write songs like these.
Yes. I'm a lazy person, so I should write more. It was easier in the old days when I was under pressure to come up with something. Now I'm just kind of doing it for my own pleasure. But thank you for what you said. Yes, I'm lucky to have a distinctive kind of voice, which it really helps.
Yeah. And why call it the Blue World Tour?
Oh, because when we're on tour, it's not. The set list is not really about what we play. It's about what we leave out. So there are maybe 6 or 7 songs that I have to play, that I want to play. That
you could play for 2 weeks if you wanted to.
You know what I mean? There's certain things that I have to play.
Of course.
So the rest is just stuff that we rehearse up, and Julie, Mike, and Carmen say, "Oh, I really love this one." And we really love Blue World, so we call the tour Blue World. It's a song that from an album called The Present, Moody's album.
Of course,
never did it on stage before, but it works great.
And some of these dates that you're doing in the States are with Christopher Cross.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, and you've known him for a long time, or
I met Christopher maybe 20 years ago, and then. Yes, it was at my suggestion to my agent. So, why don't we, see if we can do a kind of double-header show? And blow me down. And Christopher said yes. So it's absolutely great. And it's a lovely show. And, you get me and him. But wherever I am in the building, when he starts playing Sailing, I just have to stop and... I just have to stop everything I'm doing, and I'm in a kind of music heaven for about 3 minutes, when he plays that, of course.
Well, you are not only a songwriter, but you're a guitar player, a pretty damn good one. And when you get to watch a guy like Christopher Cross play guitar every night on tour, that must be fun as well.
Well, he gets a beautiful sound, but it's a great combination, of just kind of distinctive voices, I suppose, mine and then his,
As people like you, Robert Plant with Alison Krauss, I'm going to give you a list here. The Rolling Stones, Paul McCartney. You have the best job in the world. And listen, we're all getting older, obviously, but I always say, if I had that job, why would I retire? It's 2 hours, give or take on a concert, and then there's the traveling and the horrible interviews like you're doing right now with me that you have to do to promote the tour.
Come on. Yeah.
But again, still those 2 hours, does it make it all worth it, right?
Well, I think Keith once said, you don't get paid for the 2 hours, you get paid for the other 22 during the day. So that's very true. But I love it. I love being with my crew. I've always had great people with me. I love being with Julie and Carmen and Mike now, and to do my songs really in the way that I wrote them, more like the way my demos were. Right. Even Moody's songs are not just solo things. And so... this is really what I want to do, now, and I'm enjoying it so much. Yes.
Well, you mentioned this previously. You were under pressure to write songs in the early days of the Moody Blues. I read somewhere there were days where it was like 3 hours and you had to get like a ton of stuff done.
Yes, yeah. It was usually a 3-hour session, so it would be 10 till 1, and something would be done. I think with the first Days of Future Past, our bits on Days of Future Past were done like that in a couple of short sessions, and because we didn't have any reputation or anything like that, so
clock's ticking, it's costing money,
yes,
we got to get out of here.
But we went back to that with a song called Question, where we thought after about 3 albums where we were probably started to waste a lot of time, we decided with an album called Question of Balance to go back to just doing it as if it was live with very little double tracking. And Question was the first thing we did like that.
So having a deadline kind of helps.
It does, yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. You got to do it, yeah.
We had mentioned Paul McCartney and Alison Krauss and Robert Plant, the Rolling Stones. Do you have any previously unheard stories of run-ins with any of those people over the years that I just mentioned? We love to hear these stories.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah. I'm not in the same league as all the people you just mentioned.
Oh, come
there,
on
but,
now, please.
No, I'm serious.
Jimi Hendrix.
Jimmy was the loveliest man. He was the loveliest man, soft and gentle, and I think I was at a girlfriend's house, and I knew. I mean, a lot of these people in those days were, you wouldn't say friends; they were acquaintances, and there's a difference between acquaintance and friendship, of course. But Jimmy was an acquaintance, and I think we just spent an hour talking about clothes. Because I like beautiful clothes, and he was always so beautifully dressed, and he's
original too.
Original, and he set the kind of fashion for things. The way he looked was so much a part of his whole image and the whole idea of Jimmy. Really, the way he looked. And
so you hung out with
himself.
Jimmy for like an hour or so. I mean,
we had our girlfriends knew each other, and
right,
yeah. Yeah.
Any of the Beatles, the Stones, similar sort of run-ins like that over the years?
I have never had a run-in. It means that you had some kind of disagreement with them. But acquaintances.
Yes,
acquaintances.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of these songs where a mistake was made. For example, The Police, Roxanne. At the beginning, you hear this really horrible chord, and that is actually Sting falling backwards and his butt planting on the Fender Rhodes. And they left it in the song, and then you can hear him laughing right after that. Mm-hmm. And the reason I bring this up is I just read recently that Nights in White Satin is a song you can hear a cat walk into the studio.
Well, I was the only person there when they recorded. So Nights on the album that was called Days of Future Past, and that was made actually as a demonstration stereo record. It sounds like we're playing with an orchestra, but the orchestral sounds on our songs on Nights on Tuesday and are an instrument called the mellotron.
Right, the mellotron, yeah.
But but between our songs there was an orchestra, and the only place they overlapped was at the end of Nights in White Satin, the last verse of Nights in White Satin. Peter Knight and his orchestra played on the very last verse of the album version of Nights in White Satin, and I was the only one of the group that was there when the orchestra, in a 3-hour session, recorded their part of it. Yes, and the studio cat ran through at the end of Nights, ran through the studio, knocked a tree bell over, and they left it in because and it was only later that a guy who was doing some orchestrations when we were doing with the Moody's an orchestra tour, he said, I never understood why that crash is there, because it's not. I said, right, yes. Oh, you're taking it from the record exactly as I said. Well, just leave it in. That's when the cat ran through. So it's always been there. So it's a slightly out of time crash at the end of Nights. Yes,
it's fantastic. And listen, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that from the Moody Blues, various incarnations over the years. Really, you and John Lodge are the only really surviving members now.
Sadly.
And from my own experience, when someone that you know or have known quite well over the years, and maybe at one point even very close to, it's a weird feeling when we lose people like that. What goes through your mind? And you had so much history with these other guys in the band over the years.
Yeah, I think. I mean, when Graham, our drummer, passed, I think that made a big impact on me because he loved the group so much. Everybody else in the group had stuff. I mean, of course, we have lives.
Yeah.
Well, we always said it's great. It was great being in the Moody Blues and that all the stuff we did together. But the biggest part of our lives was our lives, apart from that and the relationships we had. But Graham really, his whole thing was about always keeping the band together, being faithful to the sound and true to the sort of the philosophy of the group, which really wasn't about publicity or celebrity or anything. It was about the music, and I really admired him for that. And he was a kind of anchor for me. And when he passed, I think the whole thing passed for me. So that's what happened. You know, Mike Pinder died recently, but
right.
Mike left the group in 1974. Really,
right?
You know, and you don't stay mates with people who leave a group,
right?
You know, so that's just life.
Yeah.
So be nice to everybody thinks, oh, you know, your friend passed. It's like not exactly. Because,
it's been a while since we hung out. Clearly.
Yeah.
Do you remember the moment when you realized that, okay, I think I made the right decision as far as a career situation, being a songwriter and being a guitar player? Was there a particular moment when you said, wow, okay, all this work I did before has finally paid off. I think I'm on the right path.
Well, I was very lucky to get a job when I was 17 playing guitar for a rock and roll singer called Marty Wilde. But I was actually earning some money, you know how to. And I knew that I was in London that put me in London at the right time in 1964. So I was there to be part of that whole music scene. But I think the biggest moment for us, for the Moody's, because I don't think we ever realized we were always like third or fourth on the bill, you know, up until the sort of early 70s, and we was everybody's support act. You know, our first tour of America, we were supporting Canned Heat. We were opening for them, which was great, and that was always our place on the bill.
Post Woodstock or pre Woodstock?
Well, this was 1968.
Okay, so, right before Woodstock.
Yes.
Before anyone kind of knew who they were either.
Yeah, but they were a great boogie band who had a great live reputation, and it was a pleasure to open for them. But I think the only moment that I ever realized it was when we were in this town. We were in New York. I think it was maybe 72, and we played Madison Square Garden twice in the same day. And they gave us
how did that happen? 2 shows in one day?
Exactly. Yes, we did like a 3 o'clock and an 8 o'clock, and they gave us a thing called the Golden Ticket, which I still have, for selling more tickets than anybody else at Madison Square Garden, because if you do it twice, you know, you're bound to sell more tickets. But Ray Thomas and I went out on the pavement outside Madison Square in between these 2 shows, and we bought some tickets off some ticket types and just gave them away, because this was the time of peace and love. So we just love, man, you know, and we'd give, you need a ticket? And don't buy it from here you go, you know, and we gave people tickets. And we looked up and we saw our names on the
marquee, right?
Yeah, on the marquee outside Madison Square. And I know we both said, maybe we've made it, you know. But also later that night, of course, I often wonder about the people who were in the audience. Said, aren't those the guys? They knew Moody's music, but they didn't know what we looked like. But aren't those the guys that gave us the tickets, you know, kind of thing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, listen, I've interviewed a lot of people. I don't know anyone who's played Madison Square Garden twice in the same day.
Yeah, Golden Ticket, Jonathan.
I mean, Billy Joel doesn't do that, okay? And he sells out 150, you know, whatever, but they're on for like a month apart.
Yeah, well,
we
were pushed for time.
Yeah. Justin Hayward is with us. And my last question is, do you remember the first rock or pop song that you learned by note for note on the guitar? And if so, what was it?
I think it was probably Heartbeat by Buddy Holly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I mean, in England, we were all kind of in skiffle groups, so we were like, freight train, going so fast. But I knew that wasn't for me, but when I heard Buddy, then it brought everything into focus. And then I knew what he was playing. He was a guy in a group that was singing and writing, and that's what I wanted to be. And so I think Heartbeat was the one I really took seriously. And
it's funny because you think about Buddy Holly,
yeah,
and Buddy Holly and the image that he sort of presented when America and the world first saw him, as opposed to Elvis. All very, very, very different.
Very
I
different,
mean,
yeah.
Buddy had the glasses, and it kind of looked a little nerdy or whatever.
Yeah.
Elvis is a complete rock star from day one. Interesting, and what a great songwriter, and what a great band.
Yes,
too.
yeah, tremendous. Well, I think we in England knew that we couldn't be like an Elvis. But there wasn't that kind of culture. Of course, we had Cliff Richard, and Cliff Richard was come after Buddy, but. And Tommy
Lonnie
Steele.
Donegan too, right?
Donegan was a kind of skip,
yeah.
But there was that kind of stuff. But no, Buddy was. It's hard to explain how huge really Buddy was in the UK,
right?
To every young guitar player like me,
right?
Hey, it's only 3 chords. There's only 3 chords in Nights.
3 chords and the truth.
Yeah, very nice.
What more can you tell us about this new song I want to play, "Living for Love"?
Well. I was just going. I met some people that I hadn't seen for such a long time, and we just talked about when we were kids. And I remember with my late brother. My brother was only 18 months older than me, but we lived our lives through records. And I know the first time I was dumped, and my brother, there'd be one record that said everything for me, and. There was no distractions. We had school, of course, but we were very privileged, my brother and I, to go to a beautiful school. But I think we just lived for love and the love of music. Music was our whole lives were just about music. They explained us.
Yeah,
that's all.
Justin Hayward is with us, and he is, of course, you know him from the Moody Blues, writer of so many great songs. He's out on tour in the States this summer. The Blue World Tour featuring Mike Dawes coming to the Mayo Performing Arts Center in Morristown, July 16th. The latest release is Justin Hayward, "Living for Love," and everyone go out and buy it, download it, stream it, whatever you want to do. It's fantastic. You can get all the info at justinhayward.com. Justin, a real pleasure to have you back on the airwaves of Q104.3. You look great. Stay healthy, stay happy, live for love, and thank you so much, man.
Oh, a great pleasure.
This is Out of the Box with your host, Jonathan Clark. Out of the Box, Sunday nights at 9 on Q104.3.